be here. So good to see all of you bringing in so much positive energy. Just the way you love my energy, I love your energy, because I feel like you always bring so much of amazing positivity to all of the comments that keep coming. It's so fabulous. All right, let's get into questions. Let's look at who all are here. Ma'am, is your outfit half and half, different colors and printed? Yes, it is actually. This side is pink and this side is green, and the designer has put it all together with a collar. I don't know if you can see the collar, and this is the sleeve detail. It's a very nice, it's a very bohemian, very casual, घर पे पहन के बैठने वाला type of top. So आज मेरा home day था. आज I had a huge reels recording this morning that didn't happen because of some reason, and so pretty much got the whole day free. So the only thing I'm doing today is the Insta live. So very easy day. So I've been relaxing. So this is my relaxing outfit. Which brand? I don't know. There's a lovely exhibition that a girl called Nandini does. You can follow her. I think it's called Amoire. How do you pronounce it? I'm not sure. Amore. I think it means love, or Amoire. Okay, and the girl's name is Nandini, and she does these exhibitions all over India in different hotels. And I think she's one of those who brings lovely brands to, like in Chennai we have a few people. We have Pavitra and Nikita who do Funky Fish, which is also fabulous. So I'm not much of an exhibition shopper, only because I never those days whenever there will be an exhibition, I will not have time to go and attend it. But for a change, this time last week I had a couple of hours between two of my sessions, so quickly ran and picked up a few things. Even these earrings are from that exhibition. Even this top is from that exhibition. So yeah, look at me discussing clothes and jewelry rather than wisdom and love and compassion. All right, designer Priyanka is saying how to stay positive and calm with yourself when you're about to get married in 9 days. Wow, Priyanka, that's quite an interesting question. So I think you have to allow yourself all of the varied emotions that change brings. So I feel like when you're having a baby, when you're getting married, when you're moving countries, when you're going off to college somewhere, all of these are massive changes that are bound to bring a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of excitement. There's going to be a combination of so many emotions, and so much seems to be happening at this point of time in your life, because just the amount of attention and the amount of stuff that's happening around, I think it's very difficult to keep zen or keep calm. Now, as far as being positive is concerned, if you're marrying the right guy, even if you're anxious, there has to be an underlying positivity to it, which is a great way to check if your body or your intuition is telling you something is wrong, or is it telling you it's okay, but it's just that you're overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that's getting done around you. So it's very important to question these things, only because if you're asking me this doubt from a place of I'm not sure if this marriage is for me, then that's a very different answer versus if you're just asking me in the halchal of things, how do I keep myself calm? So I'm not sure which angle you are asking me this. Calm is different, positive is different, okay? So when I was getting married, even though I was very anxious about my marriage, the one thing I knew was that this guy is right for me. And I think that kind of brought in the stability that I needed in my personality as I was getting married, even though I knew that I'm getting married way too young. I knew that, and I was going ahead against my own gut intuition. So I'd love for you to also examine what is it that is working for you, what is that's not working for you, and if the decision is feeling wrong, then you need to stand up for yourself before things go wrong, because it's rather good to stand up now than to stand up a month later that I knew this would happen. Okay, so I don't want you to get stuck in that. If it is just because of the anxiety of a new bride, and if that's what you're feeling, then that's completely different. Like I remember I had someone come to me once, and she was discussing a lot about how the marriage was not seeming right, and everybody kept telling her that, you know, after marriage you'll feel fine. No, but he doesn't talk to me enough. And she had about maybe even a list of 10 to 12 red flags in the courtship. And everybody just kept pacifying her and saying, no, it's all right. You're just overthinking it. You're overreading. Shaadi ke baad theek ho jayega. I thought that was the worst advice she got, and I know how much that girl suffered for the first year and then eventually came back. I don't mean to be morbid about this whole thing. I don't want to take away from your joy, but I'm not sure about the way you're asking. So if it is just in organizing and all of that, do a little bit of meditation, speak to him a little more, go run out and meet him if you can. Do all of the cute things we've all done in our courtship period that help us cope with all of the hangama, okay? Lalita Vedagri is asking, Dear Pooja, sometimes I run out of the things to write on gratitude journal based on previous days' happenings. Can we write gratitude for very old positive things that has happened? Maybe even in my childhood. Lalita, you can write about anything you like, okay? So I don't want you to consider gratitude as a thing that you have to be stuck with only from the previous day. You can go as back in time. You can even do something called future gratitudes that I have been doing lately and I've been really enjoying, where I'm getting grateful to God about things that are going to happen in my future that haven't happened yet. And it's so cute. Like, I'll just write something like, you know, thank you God for sending me dash, or thank you God for making this happen, or thank you God for my trip for my birthday, or thank you God for... And I'm really enjoying doing future gratitudes. Now, you can do gratitudes on technology, you can do gratitudes on your environment, you can do gratitudes on the people that you absolutely adore or are in your environment, you can do gratitude for the small things of life, you can do gratitude for the big things of life, you can do gratitude for things that went wrong but something from that or in that was right. You know, so let's say somebody had an accident but they didn't get hurt. I'll just write gratitude. I'm so grateful to God for nobody got hurt in the accident. I'm not grateful for the accident. I'm grateful for the fact that nobody got hurt in the accident. So I'll look for the silver lining and write gratitude. I can be grateful for, you know, all of the nature. So there's so much. If you just look at all the possible topics, I have over, I think, 10 to 15 topics that I cover in Awakening when I make people do like 100 gratitudes at one shot. The reason why I make people do 100 gratitudes at one shot is after that they'll never ever in their life struggle to write 5. So I'm going to challenge you also, my sweetheart. See if you can write 100 gratitudes, okay? Look for all the possible topics. Maybe one topic can just be your cupboard. I'm grateful for my makeup, I'm grateful for my nighties, I'm grateful for my clothes, I'm grateful for my bags, I'm grateful for my shoes, I'm grateful for my jewelry, I'm grateful for my ring, I'm grateful for my chappals, I'm grateful for my... You can be grateful for so many things. Anything spectacular that's standing out. I'm grateful for my gorgeous perfumes. I'm grateful for my dresser. I'm grateful for my cupboards. I'm grateful for my gym clothes. I'm grateful for my, you know, you can be so grateful for so many things. So you can have your cupboards as gratitude. You can have your house as gratitude. You can have nature as gratitude. So there's no end to this list. There is no reason why you should be running out of gratitude. So now I want you to start to widen your horizon of gratitude. Okay? Swati Agarwal, I feel bad when my husband supports my in-laws but not me. I feel like an outsider. So Swati, this is the problem with the current relationships that we have gotten into, where I think this generation is going to be the last generation that is going to support their parents over their wives. I really hope that our children don't do that. Our children understand that somebody has left their house and come to your house under your protection. It is your job to, you know, secure her and make her feel safe. Now, having said that, I would love for you to also start to play the cards differently. Now, every time a girl is getting married, these are a few of the things I like to tell them that, you know, do not put him in a position where he has to choose. Okay, do not put him in a position where he has to choose. Your love for him has to always be greater than your hate for his parents. Which means what? When you come into the room, you tell him that, you know what, you want to choose them in front of them, you please do. But in the room, I need your help. Please guide me on how to be with your parents so that I'm never put in this situation again. Because I need you to be on my side because I feel so like an outsider. Now, what do you need from me so that you can take my side? Please tell me. So one of the things I used to tell Puneet is, whatever your mom says, say yes and come back. Between both of us, we'll deal with it. Now, we are one. And it took me a few years to make him believe that we are one. So I think that it's so important in our lives that we understand that putting him in a difficult position does not serve anybody. And definitely not the wife. Okay, so you have to start to maneuver your way in a manner where he too wants to be respected in front of his parents. So when you are in front of his parents, just the way you are looking for support, guess what he's begging you for in his heart? For support. That in front of my parents, don't put me down. तुझे जो चाहिए तो रूम में मांग लियो, मैं happily दे दूंगा, यहाँ पर मेरे को शर्मिंदा मत कर. Okay, so I feel like a lot of times because we've come from outside with a different value system, we tend to try too hard to make him mind too fast. Rather, let him be his parents for his parents, and know that in your heart, inside the room, the more you are able to connect with him, where he doesn't have to choose, where you support him in the beginning before you look for support, then that works like magic. Now, having said that, I have no idea about your situation, how horrible they are or how mean has he been. So I'm not able to fully make sense of the whole thing. So I'm giving you a very generic opinion or advice on what I'm thinking if you are a regular person with a regular person, right? Now, if your situation is very unique, please follow your own heart. And if you are feeling like, I always tell women this all the time, your hating his mother is also you hating a part of him, because who he loves you don't love, then you are disconnecting that relationship. Okay, it's like if somebody hated your child, okay, what will you do with that person? You just pick them up and put them on the side, right? So the same thing is happening there. He isn't yours enough yet, especially if you're married for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, he isn't yours enough yet. So don't challenge a position where you will not win. So you have to become super smart. Okay, daughter-in-laws, every daughter-in-law who's listening to me, please, you have to become super smart, where you have to start to look at this whole situation different. And let me tell you one thing, what I've seen in men. When you take their advice and you do what they ask you to do, and you don't get the response from the parents how you need it to be, then he feels responsible that his parents are letting him down. And then he overcompensates to you. So it may not fix your relationship with the parents, but what it does to your core relationship is that you will become super close. Now, if you keep pitching them against him, like if you keep being critical of them, and you want him to say they are wrong and you are right, you will win the battle, but you will lose the war, Meri Jaan. Because whenever he will have to agree with you that his parents are wrong, there's a part of him that dies. There's a part of him that gets super hurt. And guess what? At that point, he has no choice but to agree with you, because you may be super right. But the truth is that in proving them wrong, now he will also hurt you back, because you've hurt him without realizing, even though you were talking about his parents, but his parents, any conversation about his parents is hurting him. So if we realize that how much he loves his parents and start to value that just the way we would want him to value our parents. Okay, I don't know why we have this hypocrisy that he should love my parents, but I don't have to love his. Of course, you're staying with them, तो जहाँ बर्तन इकट्ठे होंगे वहाँ तो वो खनके ही, and I'm guessing you're staying with them. I think we need a complete mother-in-law, daughter-in-law orientation program now, because we are getting into spaces that don't really, I don't think either a mother-in-law understands how to orient her daughter-in-law, and neither does a daughter-in-law understand that you cannot expect the level of support you expect from her man from day one. It's unfair that he should dump someone to be with you. He shouldn't have to choose. I hope you're understanding. Super, Priyanka. So happy to hear that. How to practice gratitude together with husband. So one of the things Puneet and I do is we have an app on our phone. Let me show you what that app looks like. It says journal entry. Where is the journal entry of my... Okay. So it looks something like this. If you can see it, it'll say journal. I think it's a built-in app in the Apple phone. So if you have an Apple phone, otherwise you can download any journaling app or gratitude app. And then every day, Puneet and I just like to write out ours. So I add a picture and I just write out my gratitude. And then we read it out to each other. So this is my yesterday's gratitude, where I've written all of my gratitude. I added a nice picture, and then I'll read it out to him. He will write his, and then he will read it out to me. So that's how we do it. In less than 3 minutes, I think we both are done with our gratitude. Doesn't take too long. Yeah. Future के लिए कैसे लिखना है gratitude? I am grateful for the beautiful holiday that I enjoyed in South Korea. I am amazingly happy about my Love Bubble program going off so beautifully and the women responding so fabulously. I am super excited about my children coming to India next month. I am loving the idea of, this is all future gratitude, okay? So whatever it is that you're grateful for, you write it as if it's already done. JNB Bhavna saying, I did the awakening course, but I wasn't told to write the 100 gratitudes. Okay, so you should have ideally gotten the 3 videos that we send before awakening starts. So awakening starts on a Thursday. The very beginning of that program, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, ideally you should have been sent a video that if you watch those 3 videos, you get ready and prepped for awakening. Now, I don't know what happened, that why you did not get to write those 100 gratitudes. I will check with my team if the last month something happened. Most of the people I guess have written, so no idea why yours got missed, Mary Jan. How do I not let people take advantage of me both in personal and work life without being rude? I think the more clearer you are about setting your boundaries and then sticking to them, the more the chances of you being able to not let people take advantage. Now, while you're saying you don't want to be rude, you don't have to be rude, but you do need to be firm and polite. Okay, so there is a certain amount of upset or disappointment that a boundary needs to create. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a boundary at all. It would have just been an ask. But the reason it's a boundary is because someone will have to take a step back on whatever convenience they are enjoying by having you in their life. Okay, so the first time you're going to tell them, just be prepared in advance that they will feel mildly disappointed or upset with you for having set the boundary. What I know for sure is they'll get over it pretty fast and then come back to you with more respect and understanding. So a lot of times, let's say somebody's taking advantage of me personally, that they walk into my house whenever they like, or they self-invite themselves for lunch or dinner, or they, I don't know, think of something where, you know, somebody's taking advantage of you personally, and then look at that situation and go, okay, what is it that I need from them and what is it I'm willing to give them? So when you want to be not rude, you not only specify to them what they can't do, you also tell them along with it what they can do. So let's say somebody has called up my staff directly and ordered some salad that they want sent to their house. I'm just giving you a random example. Now, I'm not okay with you calling my staff up directly. This is a favor. You should have gone through me, correct? So my conversation with her will be that, look, my staff, you called up my staff directly. Next time, please call me up, because I don't want anyone to directly call up my staff, because they won't know what to prioritize, what you are asking or what work I have given them, right? So please just let me know and I will tell my staff to make it for you. I'm happy to make the salads for you, but next time onwards, just make sure that you go through me. That's all that was required, right? Now, this person may get upset for a day or two, but they will recover from it very fast. Now, let's take a work-life example. Let's say there's a colleague that is taking all of the credit for all of the work that you've been doing. I'm just taking any random example again. And so then you communicate to him that, you know what? We both did this together, and you saying all that you have only done everything hurt me. So just be careful that from next time onwards, let's present it together so that it looks like we both did the work. Now this person would say, hey, don't take it so seriously, macha. I was just kidding, or this thing. It was not a joke for me. Okay, I didn't find it funny. And then sit in your silence to let this person experience the discomfort of silence. People try to take it lightly. When you don't allow them to do that, they get uncomfortable, and that silence is what creates the cementing of the boundary. So it's okay to say something uncomfortable and then be silent about it. I didn't find it funny. You know, it actually hurt me. I don't really think you come across as a person who will be so insensitive, but on this particular topic, I felt like, you know, you didn't keep me in mind or something like that. Now, let's say they do it again. and they do it publicly, then publicly you need to reprimand them because they are publicly creating a scene for you. If you stay quiet publicly, then they'll continue to do that. So publicly you need to at that point say, you know what, actually we both have done it, haven't we? So you need to pull the person up. Once you do it privately, second time you do it publicly, third time you do it aggressively till the person gets the message. And sometimes it takes 1, 2 or 3 times to get someone to get your message. Because we are good-hearted, we will try to camouflage it. The more you try to camouflage it, the more you have given the opportunity for the other person to take you for granted, because now they know you're not comfortable in confrontation. So you have to also show that you are comfortable in confrontation. I love following the sandwich technique, which I call my Karela sandwich. Thank them for whatever it is that they did right. Put the Karela in between, which means put the boundary in between, and then again give them something in compensation. So thank you so much I really enjoyed working with you on this particular project. But I felt very bad that when it came to speaking to the administration, you took away all of the credit, even though we did all of the work together. Next time, can you just make sure that both of our names is on the presentation so that I don't feel used or taken for granted? Would that be okay with you? Sandwich technique. So see if you want to try the sandwich technique when you're setting boundaries. You feel you're being rude, but you know what? Actually, you're just being who you need to be. So it's not rude to set boundaries. It's only when you have boundaries that you feel safe to be able to love fully. If you are not feeling safe, you can't love fully, and therefore your personality and everything gets hindered in the process. Okay, so become comfortable setting boundaries with people and become comfortable disappointing and upsetting people for a period of time for long-term benefit, rather than pleasing people and then being bitter for a long time. I would rather you be happy for a long time and bitter for a small period of time than the other way around, where you've pleased someone but now you're bitter for a much longer time, because the exact relationship you were trying to save is already dying inside of you. All right. Yamini Devangan. How to be calm when people are grouping together and leaving me out? It makes me feel so lonely. So Yamini, one of the things about social grouping is that whenever you belong to group energy, you need to make one real friend in the group. If you don't have any real friends in the group, you will 100% get left out, because it's the job of one of those people in the group to watch your back. Everybody's job is not that. So how group psychology works is, few people will get together and become extra close, and there will be few people who will always be on the periphery. Now, unless you have someone in the inner group who is also going to look after you, otherwise you'll keep feeling left out. Okay. Now, sometimes a few spontaneous plans get made where we may feel left out, but the truth was that it was made so suddenly that they didn't get the time and the energy or the effort to create it as a group plan. But if every time you're feeling like you're the only one getting left out, then whoever it is that you're the closest to who participated in that group energy, she is the one you need to speak to, where you need to tell her that whenever I'll be invited, I'll make sure you come. Whenever you're invited, just give me a call. Just send me a message. If I'm able to come, I'll come. If I'm not able to come, I won't come. But at least let me know. So your job is to watch my back and my job is to watch your back within this group. When you have that kind of clarity, then you will not feel lonely and you won't feel sad and alone. The problem is, in groups, if you don't have one person as your wingman, the chances are you'll put a message, no one will respond. You'll put a message, no one will reply. And when those things start to happen, it hurts you. So it's better to have that one person that you know will reply to the messages that you put, will respond to those messages. And if they don't, then you should have the capacity to pick up the phone and say, yaar, tu to dal de ek message, aur koi to respond kar nahi raha. You know? So having said that, it's not necessary that this person will do a fabulous job of being your wingman, but at least you know who's responsible in the group for you. Because if you're thinking a group is supposed to be responsible for you, group energy does not work like that, my darling. Okay? Harry Digital Ways are saying, I am seeing so many angel numbers nowadays, especially 11. Can you tell me what is happening? I'm a big believer that whenever you start to see numbers, it basically means you're on track. Whatever it is at that point you are doing, or whatever it is that you are doing in your life, it's going to support you, it's for you. So your seeing numbers is knowing that there's an angel watching over you and making sure that your future is blessed. So just treat every time you see 1111, just look up and say thank you. That's your way of saying that I recognize that I am being watched. I recognize that I'm being blessed. I recognize that I'm on track and something good is going to happen in the near future. So that's the recognition of angel numbers. Pushpa, could you define what sets our business apart and how it solves a problem or fulfills a need for the customers? Could you define what sets our business apart? Now, I don't know what our business means. Means, are you also a coach like me? And is that what you're asking, that what sets our business apart? Well, I think that where we come from, we have to look a little deeper to look at what are the problems. Genuinely, you need to find out what problem are you solving and what is a need that you're fulfilling of the customer. Now, for me, I know that I am obsessed with women becoming independent. So having their own identity, becoming financially free to getting the respect that they deserve. This is my formula because these were the three things I was most hungry for when I was going on the journey of being a complete woman. So for me, because I was Mrs. So-and-so, daughter and so-and-so, it used to upset me. I wanted to have my own identity, that who is Pooja? Beyond being a wife, mother, daughter, daughter-in-law, who is she? What is her contribution to the world? That was a beautiful question for me to ask myself. And then it used to be about me wanting financial freedom, not so much for the money, but so much for the freedom of being able to make my own choices. Till the time someone else is controlling you, you will be under them for whatever choices they make, which means if your value system is not in alignment with them, you will have to follow whatever their value system is. So whatever Puneet's value system is, I have to be under that because he's the decision maker, because he's the breadwinner, right? So for me, having my own money basically meant now I can make choices, the right choices for my value system. Now, to expect that the person who's earning for you should make choices in your value system is expecting too much. It's an artificial expectation where you will keep getting hurt again and again and again. And then, of course, to get the respect that you deserve, because unfortunately, this is not the right thing that the patriarchy has done to us. I think it's rather a harmful thing for them and for us. But a woman today who does not have her own income is subjugated to being only a housewife or just a mother. And when you add adverbs like this, where you put just a mother or only a housewife, you've reduced a very big responsibility to a very tiny thing. Because running someone's house is like running someone's company. It's like there's so many parts to it, and some women really do a fabulous job of it. They cannot be undermined for it. Same way, raising a child, there couldn't be more important a thing than that. So I feel like that's the reason why to deserve the respect that, to have the respect we deserve is a huge part of my ideology. So I'm just sharing with you what's my ideology. Like that, I'd love for you to ask yourself, Pushpa, what were the problems of your life 3 years ago that you've solved for yourself? What were your needs that you have been able to look after? What were your aspirations? What were your challenges? What were things that were keeping you up at night? What were your dreams and desires that used to live in your fantasy world? And the more you can put all of this on paper and realize that, wow, now I'm living my dream life, how can I help others do the same? So that's how you build your description of your business. The more you make it personal, the more it will deeply connect with others. Rohini is asking how to set our priority in terms of our career. Well, that's a very, very broad question. How to set our priority in terms of our career there's so many different ways to answer that. I'm not able to figure out what your exact problem is in your career. I would have liked to give you a far more specific answer. However, having said that, I think scheduling time of what are your timelines at home, what are your timings at work, in your work, what is your division? When are you preparing it for your work? When are you delivering your work? When are you resting? All of those things are such important ways to set priority for your career. Also, to know what are the things that only you can do and what are the things you can delegate. So for my career, I like to do everything myself, those that I can, and rest everything must be delegated. So if I just create a timeline of where am I putting in maximum time and what in that time do I really enjoy and what are the things I feel tired or exhausted to do. Now those that I get tired and exhausted to do, there's someone else who enjoys it. I must hand over that work to them, and that I enjoy doing, I should do more of. And that in terms of priority is the right way to do your career, so that you can bring in as much joy as possible. The beautiful question to ask yourself regarding your career is, where in my career do I have a lot of joy? How can I increase that? And where in my career do I feel maximum stress? How can I delegate that? My husband doesn't care or bother about me. He ignores me and is indifferent. Should I keep loving him and doing things for him? Come for Love Bubble, please, is my request. See if you can make it, because I don't want to have a 5-minute conversation with you where I would like to have a 2 full days conversation with you. So if you're free 27th and 28th of April at the Feathers Hotel in Chennai, maybe the first time, definitely the first time, it could just be the last time. I may not continue to do the Love Bubble, so this may be the last time that I'm doing it. If there's anyone who's listening to me today and has issues in their relationship, especially of this severity where you are feeling unloved, uncared for, he's just not listening and you have no idea how to make your relationship work, then allow me to help you. Come for this beautiful program and let me give you a completely new mindset, a new direction, a new way of how I'd like you to build your relationship. The problem with our relationships is it did not come with a manual, and because there was no manual, we just operated from our moods, from our emotions, from the perspectives, from the projections of our childhood. So there's just so much baggage in every relationship where you are a complete baggage, your spouse is a complete baggage, and then both of you are not speaking to each other but speaking to the image of the other that you can see, and we can only see the side of them that we are choosing to see. There's a whole side that is completely missing to us. So when you start to look at the whole picture, which is why I call the course the Love Bubble, because I want you to know that there is no incomplete bubble. There is only the whole picture. When you get the whole picture and when you can love the person fully and completely for all of their attributes, that's when you start to play a very different game. But that can only happen, first you have to understand the 3 different kinds of men, the 4 different kinds of problems in a relationship that are happening, what are the 4 solutions to that, and if out of the 3, which category of guy you have, and if you have that category of guy, what are your solutions, or how is it that you need to talk to him to make him work for you, because there is just too much of science to conflict that we don't know yet, and because of that we are struggling in our conflicts because we are going on feeling not seen, not understood. If I speak to 80% of the women, they are going on just telling me this, that he doesn't have time for me. Even when I'm speaking, he doesn't get me, so I don't even feel understood. And half of the time when I'm speaking, I feel like he's not even hearing, so I don't feel heard or seen. And if that's your biggest challenge, then I so want to help you, Meri Jaan. Awesome. Ma'am, do you have a house manager? No, I don't have a house manager, but I do have a lot of help. So how I run my house is that I have a main chef who does all of our cooking for us. Then I have a sous chef, which is like a support cook for my cook. And then I have a cleaner who handles the whole house key cleaning. Now when that second chef is not operational because the first chef hasn't gone for chutti, then he also turns cleaner. So 2 cleaners and 1 chef is normally how I operate. My driver is my purchase manager, so he does all of the purchases for me, and my main chef is the guy who makes all the lists of all that we need. So if you want to call him a house manager, you can call him a house manager. Now we live in a joint family of 4 floors, so we have someone in the office who helps us with the maintenance of the house. So whenever गीजर नहीं चल रहा, बल्ब नहीं चल रहा, लीकेज हो रही है, सीलन आ गया, चूहे आ गए, if any such problem happens ever, then what we'll end up doing is that we get the office manager to come and help us out with an external agency that can come and do whatever is required. So this is how I run my house. I don't really need a house manager. My staff has been with me for over, I don't know, 15 years now. So because of that, comfort is there, so they understand what I needed from them. I've trained them over the years, so pretty comfortable in the setup. Heal with Jasnika. I think men even should also leave his parents' house, and just like a girl does, so that the love always stays and everything works out well, the girl also doesn't feel she has left her family. Great idea, Jasnika, and I think going forward that would be the most fair ask. So I think it's about time that men and women, if they can afford it, should move into another house when they get married. The problem is money. The problem is not that who doesn't want that. So the truth is that you can live a year or two with your in-laws if you want, so that you can see how his house is run, you know how your house is run. You can take the best from both the houses and create your third house. And if not, then perfectly okay with this idea of him also leaving his house and you leaving yours, so that it's equal compromise. Now the only reason I would want the girl to go into that house is because if he doesn't have his own house. Remember, most boys today are getting married at 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. They don't have a house and they don't want to take on the liability of paying rent when there is a room in their parents' house that is available to them. So it all depends. These are all actually financial decisions more than what they look as emotional decisions, you know. So if the woman is also working and the guy is also working and both can afford rent, I think it's a fabulous idea. Super, Priyanka. So happy for you. Okay, let me go right to the bottom. Ma'am, please do an offline event for us. Would love to meet you in person. Oh, absolutely. I am doing an offline event on the 27th and 28th of April in Chennai at the Feathers Hotel, 9 to 6, all day long, physically for all of you. So if anybody is in this room who's listening and can come for it, the ticket is for 4,999 rupees, priced at 9,999. But if you're a part of my Awakening program, my CM program, or any program of mine, you're going to get a flat 50% discount and you will get the ticket at 4,999 rupees. You want to bring a friend, you want to bring your sister, you want to bring your mother, you want to bring someone who's struggling in their relationships, you're more than welcome to do that also. It will include both the lunches, both the coffees, as well as a workbook. You are going to have a blast with me. I promise you, the kind of concepts that you're going to learn on relationships in those 2 days, it will change your life's relationships. You can never go back to being who you were after this program, because I'm going to show you things about how to see what is the new lens or the new perspective we need for our relationships. And if we are able to fix our core relationship where maximum pain lives, then you can also become a better mother, a better daughter, a better daughter-in-law, every relationship, a better friend. Because how can you fix one relationship and not have an impact on all your relationships? Because guess what? The first thing we have to change is you. And when you change, when your eyes change, when you start to look at the same thing very differently, guess what? The other person will respond to you also differently. Okay? Please do Love Bubble online. If I ever do Love Bubble online, you are all going to know it first. So trust me, that's the plan. Ma'am, please respond to my question. Kadambri, if I see your question, I promise you I will respond to it. Feathers Hotel is in Chennai. I live in Chennai, so it's in my city. Manspired Sapiens. Am I pronouncing your name right? I'm not sure. At times you are earning money as a woman, yet you get taunts for choosing your choices as if we did something wrong, putting you in guilt. कुछ तो लोगों ने कहना है, कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे. So you know this, that you know what, but when you have your own money, at least you can make those decisions and listen to those taunts. It's better than listening to the taunts without having your own money. So there are two options. One is listen to the taunts but still do what you feel like. And that's the most important part. I don't care what other people will say. After a while, they get over you. Okay, in the beginning, they will taunt you. After a while, they will, if you don't respond, if you don't react, this is your money. You can do whatever you like. They are no one to decide. So whether they like it or they don't like it, the only thing they can do is taunt. They can't do anything beyond. When they are controlling you, they can do a lot more. So you should be so excited and so happy that all you are getting is taunt. That is because they can't control you anymore, and because they can't control you, this is their way of trying to control you when they have no control over you. I hope you understood that. Is pleasing people bad? I can't stop doing this. As a life coach and lawyer, I am really bad at asking for fees. I'm left with empty pockets. How do you stop pleasing people when it's in your nature? So I think the most important question to ask yourself is, why is it so important for you on what other people think of you? Okay? And that also for a shorter period of time. Now, I have a lady right now who continuously writes to me every single day on Instagram on how my courses are so expensive and why can't I make them cheaper, and why can't I give it free? I don't understand that it's middle class ladies can't afford me, blah 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 blah, and she goes on and on and on. And I keep telling her, find a teacher you can afford. What are you doing with me? Because my courses, I have paid 10, 20, 30 times the amount. For me, I feel I'm giving it cheap only. For you, it may be too expensive. Now, I understand your reality, but you have to understand mine also, right? So the same way, I'm going to tell you that your desire to give it free is actually making them take you for granted. So you never will be able to get the kind of commitment had you charged. Can I tell you where I get my maximum refunds? The people who pay me 99 rupees for my courses. That's where you have unhappy people. Can I tell you where are my happiest customers? The ones who've paid me 3 to 5 lakhs. That's where my happiest customers live. Why is that the person who's paid me 3 to 5 lakhs is happy and the person who's paid me 99 rupees is not? It's not like my course is any different. I'm telling you, I do my best at every level. The problem is it's their commitment. When somebody pays you 2, 3, 5 lakhs, they are so committed to juice you that you give your best and they give their best and the two best meet. When somebody pays you 99 rupees, guess how involved they are? Half the time they're eating their lunch while watching me, while also looking after their child with complete disconnection. And so it's not me who didn't do my job. It is that their commitment wasn't there because they didn't pay enough. So I really hope that today onwards you start to understand that in your desire to pleasing them, you are only disservicing them. One, you're setting the industry standards to be free. So people then expect, but Pooja, he gives free, but Pooja, he gives free. I say, go to the free one. No, if they give free. Why are you coming to me then? Don't tell me to make anything free because I charge. And the reason I charge is because I believe in results. I come with 100% money back guarantee and I need you to be that committed as I'll be. If I'm going to give my 100%, I need your 100%. And I know that nobody gives their 100% when you give them anything free. Free gets taken for granted. I hope आप थोड़ा सा तो convince हो जाओ आज कि charging is such an important thing. If you don't charge, you can help 10 people. If you charge a little bit, you can help 10 people every month. But if you charge a lot, you can help many more people month after month after month after month. Eventually, the person who helped 10 people will be remembered, or eventually the person who helped 5,000 people will be remembered. So your ability to help 5,000 will only happen if you have food to eat on the table. You're doing charity in the name of your business. My suggestion, split your charity and business. Earn so much from your business that you do massive amount of charity. But don't confuse the two. One is to make money, one is to give away money. When you start giving away money in your business and you start to do charity there, then you get undervalued and you don't get paid, and then you have all of these problems that you're talking about, like empty pockets, okay? So your good heart is not serving you. I want you to stop being good-hearted. I want you to become achievement-oriented, which means what? Your client should get the results that you want them to get so that they tomorrow go out and speak well about you. And the only way you're going to get results from your clients is when they have the same amount of commitment as you, okay? Aishwarya, how to trust completely in manifestation while manifesting something always? I feel like, how is this going to happen? Aishwarya, the whole game of manifestation is to build belief. So how do you build belief? You start out with this thought on how is it going to happen, okay? So in the beginning, you have to have the clarity on what it is you want, okay? Then you need to ask for what it is that you want. So who all do you need to ask for how is this going to happen? You have to ask people for what it is that you want. You have to ask God for what it is that you want, okay? And then you need to start to believe. Now, how do you do belief? Belief lives in affirmations and visualization. So the first day that you are going to sit back, you're going to think, let's say you're wanting a house. And you're going to think, how the hell is this house going to come to me? This house is so expensive. I don't even have 5 lakh rupees. This house is for 50 lakhs. From where am I going to get 50 lakhs? So all of this will be going on in your brain. But you're going to replace this with you visualizing your house and starting to saying sentences that sound contrary to your monkey mind. So you're going to create sentences opposite of your monkey mind. Your monkey mind is saying, "Tere se nahi hoga ye, kabhi nahi khareed payegi." Your affirmation is, I am enjoying that this house is coming to me effortlessly and easily. I am loving decorating my garden with a new sofa set and a swing. I am ecstatic that my children have a whole playroom in this new house. I am loving the idea that I have a staff quarters as well as a beautiful roof garden in the house. And these are the kind of things you need to say every day, every day, every day. And in the beginning, your monkey mind is going to jump up and down, telling you, "Ye nahi hoga. Are you joking? This is all dreams. This is not how manifestation works." But the truth is that, you know what? A day will come where you will start to see the line of truth will start to blur. And somewhere deep down, you're going to start to feel like believing, because you've said it so many times to yourself that a part of you will start to shift in energy and start to believe. Now, what happens when you start to shift in energy and you start to believe because you've said it long enough is your subconscious mind goes into what we call the structural tension, which means the job of your mind is to feel like it's always right. But if you keep saying, "I'm easily and effortlessly attracting this house," and it's been telling you to stop saying it because that's not true, but you're not stopping to say it, now he gets to work or she gets to work or your subconscious gets to work to want to attract that house because it has to make you right. The job of your mind is to make you right. So first it will try to stop you. If it can't stop you, it will start to make the universe work for you. And suddenly you'll start to see, you'll enter what we call the miracle zone, which is opportunities and synchronizations will start to happen in your life where this house will start to come into your existence. You won't know why, but you'll go out for dinner and you'll come to know that the house that you want to buy, the owner is in the party. The owner will come and speak to you and say, "Where do you live?" And you'll say, "I live in number 6, Boys Garden." And he'll say, "Oh my God, I live in number 8. And you realize number 8 is the exact house that you've been wanting to pick up. And so like that, you will see opportunities and synchronizations happening. If you keep doing your affirmations and visualizations every day, it helps you learn to believe. And once you learn to believe, then you have to get ready to receive. And receiving happens when we believe and deserve what it is that we desire. So there are a few steps to that also. Now, asking, that means getting clarity. Believing, that means doing affirmations and visualization. And receiving is taking action towards being ready that when it comes, it is not in contradiction. So let's say you want to attract a man, but you have a single bed in your room. So what are the chances that there's no place for him? So how are you going to attract the man? You need to start to look at your life and your environment and re-examine that for me to receive this man, I need a double bed. So like that, there are many things, many steps in manifestation. If you just follow these 3 itself, you will start to see a huge shift in your ability to channel and attract whatever it is that you want. So believing is what is lacking in your ability to manifest. Start building it through affirmations and visualization. Yeah, you can study more videos on affirmation and visualization on YouTube to get a more deeper and clearer picture on that. All right, we're already at 4:54. That was quick. After April, when will the offline event happen? I don't know even if it will happen. So no idea whatsoever. I manifested my house and it came to me magically. So happy to hear that, Prerna. God bless you. Sushmita, how to deal with a man who doesn't keep his promise and not live by his words? Sushmita, these are all the yellow flags and the red flags that exist in a relationship, where you have to start to see then why are you in the relationship and what is it that you are getting. Okay, because when people are not dependable, trust becomes an issue, commitment becomes an issue. So trust and commitment are the pillars of a relationship, and that becomes very weak when people don't live by their words, which means whatever they are saying, you can't depend on them, which means you need to build a far stronger personality to be able to take all of the responsibility of your life, because you can't share it with someone who's not dependable. Correct? So then you have to see what else about him is amazing that you can love him for. And if you don't find anything, then you know it's time for you to value yourself and go on a journey to become what he's not for you. Nice. Lovely. So many of you are talking about your experience about getting a house through manifestation. That's so wonderful. Beautiful. All right, on that note, I'm going to end. Let's do my pose. You know what you need to do, which is basically take a picture, put your biggest takeaway for today, share it in your stories, tag me, and then I will share it in my stories. Yes? Cheers to that. Loads of love. Super excited to see all of you who are coming on 27th and 28th. If you've ever wanted to meet me, this is a great opportunity to come and spend 2 full days with me. All right, picture time. Whoa, what was that? So my eyes going red. All right, looking forward to seeing you all. For all of you who are coming for Love Bubble, can't wait to share all the research and studies and my own personal experiences that I want to share with all of you. Can't wait to do that. And if you're also coming for your graduation ceremony for whichever reason, because you are either in enlightenment program of mine or in coaching certification or in super specialization, if you're in any of the three, can't wait to see you on the 26th also. Loads of love. Thank you for flying and coming all the way. I will make it so worth it, I promise. Yes? Love you, love you, love you. Offline, we only do events in Chennai because me and Success Gyan, both of us are in Chennai. So our seat of center is Chennai. So if all of you here, please try to fly down. I promise you I'll make it worth it. Yes? Thank you everyone. Love you all so much. Do share with me under this video or in your stories what was your biggest takeaway. It's always good to find out what was that one thing that you heard today that you can use in your life, that you can apply in your life, and that will change what it is that you do. Yeah? Love you all. Bye.